The Shipwright, our protagonist in the story of dead gods. We follow his journey through the perilous antediluvian world. Who is he? Why is he the protagonist? Well, the Shipwright, as his name implies, has been tasked with building a ship. The apocalypse is coming, and he has to build the only vessel capable of keeping some shred of life alive. Construction is nearing completion, and when it's done, the world will never be the same again. Before his project is complete, he's on one last journey to collect as much of humanity's important knowledge as he can to bring with him. While his construction project has been underway for almost 120 years, he wasn't always a shipwright. Before that, well, the book doesn't specify what he did for his first 480 years. To equip him with the necessary skills for his quest, we'll have to read between the lines and look elsewhere in the book for clues. Adam was instructed to tend and keep, to name the animals, and steward creation, like a shepherd. Abel, his son, was a shepherd. Shem, Adam's third son, was a shepherd as well. Later on, Abraham was a shepherd. His son Isaac, also a shepherd. His son Jacob as well. And his son and all of his other sons, Joseph and his brothers, also shepherds. Later on, Saul, before becoming King Saul, was a shepherd. And his replacement, David, begins as the most iconic shepherd of them all. The book likes shepherds. Given this pattern, and since a critical part of the shipwright's mission has been to collect animals into his boat, I'm going to say that he was a shepherd. But a shepherd for 480 years. By inference, this would make him an animal expert the likes of which we've never seen. He could lead flocks of animals in a way that they could understand. If animals were sick or distressed, he probably had deep wells of knowledge of how to tend to them. He could effectively deal with far more deadly predators than we've ever seen. He would also, likely, be quite wealthy. After 480 years, you're not the guy standing out in the pastures for days at a time. You likely have flocks of thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, when flocks were currency. While he has 3 sons, they likely oversee a larger contingent of other shepherds across vast tracts of land. This helps explain how he can devote so much time and effort to his shipbuilding project. With that in mind, we can say that his gear is humble but refined, simple but well made. While he may be able to send others out on this mission, it's perilous enough that he feels he must do it himself. He wears a shepherd's cloak that's designed not just for weather but for camouflage, like being able to quickly become a rock, and predator deterrence. Giant eye marks may not fully stop a predator for long, but it might give you just enough time to think of a better plan. His cloak is clasped at the neck with covered pins that refer to a central prophecy of his faith, a heel crushing the head of a serpent as the serpent bites the heel. So, we have a 480-year-old expert shepherd. Now, add 120 years of shipbuilding. While he may have been able to hire people to help, this project is a matter of life and death. I imagine most of this project would be handled by him and his sons. This means that he has 120 years of tree cutting, trunk dragging, wood cutting, planing, hoisting, hammering. The list goes on. While a lot of this work can be assisted with tools and animals, it's still hard labor. I wanted to make sure this was reflected in his build. He's not just strong. With 120 years of healthy, focused effort, he's become hard as nails. He's wearing a tool belt on his quest, something that after 120 years would feel like it was part of himself. In this belt, he carries an axe and a hammer, both with dual purposes. To imply his age as well as discipline and patience, I implied that these particular tools had their handles grown into place after decades. Practical? Nope. A skilled craftsman could make a new tool in a day or two, but these ones are special, and they tell a good story. He also has some pouches for the usual journey requirements: water, rope, sling, whetstone, etc. It's also handy to have mystery bags for later on, as sometimes you need a character to have something you haven't shown just yet, without it feeling unbelievable. On the back of his belt, he keeps his watertight scroll case to hold on to knowledge that he picks up along the way. On one arm, he has some cast bronze pegs that, when combined with his hammer, become an interesting form of weapon, but can also act defensively, preventing the worst of the damage that sharp teeth can dish out. On his other arm, he wears something that's going to become a continuous motif throughout Dead Gods. They are bronze century bracelets, used to mark how old he is. While they offer some defensive benefit, they also act as an in-world shorthand for readers to recognize how new or ancient different characters are. Now, from a simple storycraft perspective, Tellurian taught me a lot. It was handy to have some big, simple shapes so that the characters could be recognized even when they were very small. It's also handy to have some pieces of big negative space, like the cloak, when you need a nice big gesture, or frankly, you just want to save yourself some drawing time here and there. Of course, having the details figured out early helps a ton when it comes to close-ups, or even just thinking of cool narrative opportunities later on. Like maybe he has something tucked in his robes that we're not going to see until the end. Who knows? Keeping the shipwright more simple overall also helps him to fulfill the role of the entry point. I intend to design some pretty wild stuff later on, so having a protagonist that can remain grounded and somewhat familiar helps to give the reader a point of reference and also a sense of scale. So, here he is, the shipwright, a wealthy, expert shepherd turned hardened boat builder on a deadly quest to save what critical fragments of knowledge he can before the end of the world. If you like Dead Gods, consider supporting it. Whether you like creative transparency or just old-fashioned stories, help to keep it afloat. Sign up on Patreon for as little as $3 a month. If you're a true believer, there's some higher tier options that I think come with some cool perks. A huge thank you to those who have already joined. It's incredibly encouraging. Dragon tier patrons, on top of being able to vote on aspects of this project, will also be listed in future videos. And so these are the first brave early adopters. And thanks for joining me as I continue to develop this project. I'm excited to see where it's going to go, and I hope you are too. See you next time.